For me, I grew up in a loving Christian home, and I always had an awareness of Jesus and his love for me. My early childhood was actually pretty wonderful. Unfortunately, when I was 13 years old, I had an unwanted sexual encounter with an older teenage boy, and that was an extremely painful experience. I chose to do more sexual activities with him, which activated this sexual drive and this confusion around that area because the conversation of sex wasn't one that was common in my home or in the environments I was in. So I just felt like I had crossed this barrier. That was the worst possible thing I could do. I ended up, after this experience, getting really involved in youth group and had a powerful encounter with Jesus and his love. I had given my life to him when I was about 6, but at this moment, I feel like that's where I really surrendered to the Lord. And he actually took this masturbation struggle I had had from that experience and a lot of the pain from that experience. But one of the things that didn't happen was because of the shame and the fear I had of sharing that experience, I never brought that into the light. And so throughout my teenage years, I like to say there was kind of a hook of shame from that experience that generated a lot of confusion, even over me believing I was beautiful and over my worth and my identity. And through my high school years, I was extremely athletic. And so I was the girl that was a free sport athlete and didn't necessarily enjoy the really quote unquote feminine expressions of dressing up and makeup and all of that. And I wasn't pursued by guys in high school in healthy ways after that experience. And so I really believed the lie that I must not be good enough, something must be wrong with me, and that's not why I'm being pursued. And so I took these insecurities that I had around my identity off with me to college. That sense of belonging, you're in a new city, you're trying to find your friends. I ended up finding comfort amongst some of my friends that had same-sex attraction. And right before that time, I ended up forming a friendship and ended up becoming emotionally codependent. I experienced a same-sex attraction at the age of 19 for the very first time. And so sharing that experience with others that were having a similar experience with me was extremely comforting. And so to fast forward, I ended up acting on those feelings. Those people became my main friend group. I ended up living a double life. So I was one person out in college and I was a totally different person at home. I was the good Christian girl pretending like I had everything together. But when I was at college, I was partying, binge drinking to cope with my pain and the confusion that I felt on the inside. And over a course of time, I realized that all of my sexual activities and the drinking actually wasn't fully gratifying me. And I began to long for God again. And I met some married couples that loved the Lord and heterosexual married couples. And I started attending the church that they were going to. And over the course of 6 months of just worshiping God and being in his presence, my heart began to soften and began to open up to the Lord, that possibly maybe he loved me. However, I still didn't know how to actually express what was happening until one day I was in church with my girlfriend, who I had gotten as far as to believe that I may marry her. And I was with her in the second row and a young boy was being water baptized. And as soon as he went under the water, I heard inside of me this voice. It was almost as if it was audible. And it was the Father. And he said to me, "Jessica, don't you want your father to see your children be warriors for my kingdom?" And I literally just fell in my seat. Because in that moment, the confusion I was experiencing, everything kind of became clear. I had this longing to be a mom. I had this longing to build a family. I had a longing since I was a young girl to want to glorify the Lord. And it was like, okay, I can't reproduce life with another woman. Like, it just became clear. At the same time, I felt this conviction, yet I felt this undescribable love. That the Lord loved me, that he accepted me, and that he had a different plan for my life. And so where did I go from there? I started repenting in my bedroom. I was truly convicted. And I also made a courageous decision to confess to my mom. My mom responded with so much love and so much compassion. And it was really her compassionate response that gave me the courage to confess at that church the following Sunday to someone I didn't know at the prayer line. Finally, I had brought this painful experience into the light. And again, someone else loved me when I thought I would be rejected. And I ended up that Sunday, after confessing to someone else, experiencing the power of God rest on me in an undescribable way. I felt this heaviness lift, and there was radical surrender that morning of my life to Christ, even though I didn't know how to move forward. But the fruit of that encounter was I didn't experience same-sex attraction. I had to sit in my program with my ex-girlfriend every day, and I had no attraction to her. it was astounding. It was incredible that God loved me that much that he would immediately lift off this attraction that was really plaguing me. And so, yet that was amazing. What I want you to hear is that there was a process of deeper healing. I had so much insecurity, social anxiety, fear of man. And what God started doing is helping me walk into healthy community with other girls. And so for the first time, I had a girls group, and I was able to share my testimony and receive love with a group of women when I was afraid that they may judge me for that. And all of that really began to bring healing to my life as I began to walk in that new identity and help me heal in those processes. And so that was in 2012. And since then, I've been walking in complete healing. And today I'm a licensed pastor, and I love to help people and share my story to let someone know that they're not alone. It's not something that plagues my life anymore. I'm confident in my femininity, secure in expressing that. And I have thriving relationships with women and with men in my life today.